Good morning, friends. This is Deanna here today, and today we're going to be working on a free pattern. This is the Vera top from Forget Me Not Patterns. It is a super cute V-neck top, so it's V-neck, and it's got this really cute like blousey sleeve with I'm doing the long cuff, but you can also leave it uncuffed and hemmed for like more of a flowy sleeve. I used a projector file to cut this out, and it made it super simple. I did do a shorts on it, so check it out. If you do not have a projector, you really need one and you want to get one. I have information on what I have, my setup on a video I made a little while ago, so make sure you check that out. So today we're going to go ahead and get started. This is a fairly quick and easy sew, and we're going to do it together. So let's go. All right, the first thing we're going to do is prep everything. We're gonna start by prepping our shoulders by doing my front and back right sides together. So I'm gonna place our back on our mat, and I'm gonna place my front right sides on top. It is hard to see on this fabric what my right and wrong side are, but I'm just gonna continuously tell you if you need to put them right sides together or wrong sides together, whatever. A lot of garment construction will be going right sides together because you want that seam to be on the inside, unless you're doing some special stitch. Now, this top is a little bit more beginner, like it's not just beginner, it's a little bit more advanced. I guess I wouldn't say advanced, but it's got the V-neck, and a lot of us are really scared of the V-neck, but you don't have to be. So once we sew those shoulders, what we're going to do is we're going to grab here on our V, on our top, and I'm going to put a stay stitch about a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch away from the edge. Just going to do a basting stitch, so it's just going to be a straight stitch, a long straight stitch all the way to the center of my neck right here. So I'm going to go down, stop there at the center, turn and go up. Actually, this is really helpful if you mark it with a fabric marker. So I'm gonna go grab my fabric marker, we're gonna mark it. So that way I know exactly where that middle point is, and that's how you're gonna get a really nice sharp V, because you're gonna work up until that and then turn. I couldn't find my fabric marker, but I found it. I get these from Wawak usually has them, Wawak online. I get a lot of my supplies from them. They have a lot of supplies for sewing. Anyway, so there's my point. It's I put it about a 1/2 inch or so from the top, and I marked my point there. So we've got that prepped. Now that we've got the shoulders prepped and that neck right there prepped, we're gonna push that aside and we're gonna grab our actual neckband. Now, on the pattern itself, it's cut with a V at the top. So like this end would be like already have the V there. But when I cut my V-necks, I don't like to have the V there already, because I find it easier to sew up and then cut the V out. I find that if you already have, so I'm going to show you here if you want to show you on this angle. When I go to sew this up, we're going to sew up down from the top. Well, you could look at the pattern. It doesn't really matter. Depends on what kind of V they have. But let's do 1/2 inch down from the top. And we're going to go to one side, and then to the other side, to the other corner. Actually, I didn't even mark that that was my center. I just kind of guessed at it, but that was a pretty good guess. First, find that center, that center point, and then do this, what I just did. So now that that's marked, we're gonna go over to my sewing machine, and you can either start here at the center and go up, start at the center, kind of back stitch, go up, and then come back at the center, back stitch, go up. But if you're scared that you're not gonna get that center done right, you can start at one side, go down at the center, stop, leave your needle down, pivot, and go up. The reason why I think this is easier is because then later I can trim this excess up here. But if this was already cut out as a V, like the pattern shows, you'll have the like sometimes the fabric will fold under and just be kind of annoying. So it's easier to, now I can go like right below it and go down. You know what, let me add for seam allowance, because they probably have seam allowance on it. So let's just say that we just go down a little bit more due to our seam allowance, right? So now we can go down here, pivot, and go up, and then we can trim this down afterwards. I hope that makes sense. To me, that's a lot easier than having this trimmed down and then having to sew underneath it, you know, with this little edge right here waiting on me. So we'll do that. And so now that we prepped our neckband, I also like to go ahead and prep sleeves and cuffs. All right, so for my cuff, we're gonna face them. I'm gonna grab my cuff and I'm gonna place them right sides together at the long angle. So like this long side right here. And I like this little curve here because when you fold it back over, this is at your wrist, which is the smallest part, and this is higher up. So it gives you this nice shape. So we're gonna go ahead and sew that right here on this outer edge. I just like to prep everything at the same time, and you don't have to prep everything at the same time because we're gonna have to come back anyway to sew on the neckband, but I just prep it and get it out of the way. We're gonna do that for the same thing for the other cuff. And remember that this is right sides together. Now for our sleeve, the sleeve is going to be attached, first of all, it's going to be sewn right sides together. I guess it looks like I forgot to mark where the spots are. There are 2 spots here, and we're going to start from this spot to this spot. We're going to put in a gathering stitch. So we're just going to put in a gathering stitch here at the bottom to gather that sleeve to fit my cuff. I'm actually just going to go ahead and put it now and just kind of start I think about an inch away from the edge will be fine. Once I put in that gathering stitch, then since the gathering stitch is not all the way up to the edge, it's just a little bit off, that means we still have seam allowance. So then I can go ahead and sew that on the round, right sides together. So we'll fold that sleeve, right sides together, and sew that. Now, if you're doing the non-cuffed option, you're really just gonna sew that up and then you're gonna hem the bottom. You're not gonna add a cuff there. But if you're doing the cuffed option, obviously you will be adding the cuff. What you'll be doing is you're gonna pull that gathering stitch and gather this to fit. Now, if you want to, you can sew it first and then put that gathering stitch so you can gather the whole thing equally. It's really up to you what you wanna do. I probably will go ahead and just sew it together first at the edge here, and then go in and put in that gathering stitch. I'm trying to see, that's the wrong side. This is the right side. This fabric really is hard to tell which one's the right and wrong side because it's brushed on both sides. And really when that happens, I just choose what side I like better and call it my right sides. And just make sure that you do that with all of the pieces. So we're gonna go ahead and go sew the sleeve together, put it in a gathering stitch, sew the cuffs together at the side, go to the sewing machine and sew that V-neck here, and then go sew my shoulders of my top and putting a straight stitch here at the V to stabilize that V-neck here, and we're gonna come back and attach our neckband. All right, so here for the neckband, I'm just going to do a regular stitch, and you know what? I'm just gonna start here at the corner. That way we can just pivot here. So I'm just going straight stitch, following that line. It's just much easier if you do make that line because then you know exactly where you need to stop. You want to remove that pin so you don't step right on it. And we're going to go to the point, center point. Then we're going to leave our needle down, pick up our foot and pivot over because we're going over to the other side. And then we're just going to finish out and come out the other side. Now, when I'm done with that, I can go back in with my scissors and cut that seam allowance here now, right? And it's a lot easier to cut that seam allowance now than to try to sew and keep that seam allowance there. You see that? And then I'm gonna also cut right here to the middle, right up until that line. And as you can see, I used a little bit of a contrasting color so I can see exactly where my stitches are. And now when you are to open that neckband, you're gonna open that up and steam it open here. Steam that seam allowance open. And then you fold it wrong sides together. And you'll see that you have your V-neck here. Once I steam it, it'll look a lot better, but there it is. Now for our neck, we want to stabilize that so it's not going to stretch out on you. And also it kind of gives you a little like a place where you're going to go. Like you know exactly where you're going to sew to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lengthen my stitch and then I'm going to start down because it's not a permanent stitch. This is just a basting stitch. I have my dot right there where the center is, so I'm going down to that dot. Then I'm lifting up and flipping over, same way, and go the other way. I did about an inch or so. And it got pulled, but that's good right there. So then I have that to attach my neckband to, and I'll show you how to do that. I'm gonna keep my stitch, my longer stitch here. I'm gonna pull a little bit of thread here at the bottom to leave a tail. This is the bottom of my sleeve, and we're gonna go ahead and pull a long basting stitch, which I will use to gather my sleeve so that my cuff will fit. At the end, leave another long tail so you can gather, and I'm gonna do that for both. All right, now I know you're gonna notice that I went a little astray from the pattern and did a couple steps a little bit different than the pattern does them. That's just my personal preference. One of those things was obviously the neckline, and then the other thing was my sleeve. I actually went ahead and sewed my sleeve together first, which means that my sleeve is gonna be sewn on the round. What that means is that I am actually going to fit my sleeve into my bodice and sew the cap around, which is, I think, a little bit of a better way to sew a sleeve on. It gives you more motion, especially on woven patterns. Now this is a knit pattern, so it doesn't make much of a difference. But if you're gonna do it the way the pattern asks you to do it, what you would do is before you actually sew up the sides together, you're gonna grab your bodice, you're gonna lay out your bodice, and you're gonna place your sleeve. It will be open, unlike mine is closed now. And you're gonna place it right side down. So that's the center point to the sleeve point. And then you're gonna go down and attach right sides together, going all the way down one side and then going all the way down to the other side. And they have notches that show you the front and the back. So you make sure that you match up the front and the back. Because I didn't do it that way, what I have to do now is when I go sew this up, I'm going to sew the sides together, right sides together as well. And then when I come back to attach it all together, I'm going to fit that sleeve into that little area. Again, there's no difference. Mostly for wovens, there's more range of motion when you actually sew the sleeve in the round. But this is up to you, whatever you find easiest. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew this side. Well, we're gonna sew the sides right side together. Don't do what I'm doing. I'm putting them wrong sides together, and then I would have this seam up here. Oh no, I was right. Oh my goodness, I'm losing it. We're sewing this wrong sides together, so you wanna see the seams on the outside. Because when we turn it right sides out, the seams will be on the inside. All right, we're gonna sew those, and then we're gonna prep our neckband. So I didn't steam it yet. We gotta go steam this open. All right, I have this mat that actually needs a new cover on it. Maybe that's something I could do sometime soon. Anyway, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to open the seam allowance of the neckband here out and steam it flat. Then I'm going to flip this over on top, and the whole thing I'm gonna fold it wrong sides together and steam it. Now we're gonna grab our neckline and we're gonna grab our neckband and we're gonna attach it to the right side of the neck. So we wanna do this right side, not the wrong side, the right side. And the right side of the neckband, whatever you want that to be, you're gonna match it up right at that center point where you marked it. Okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm gonna turn my neckband over to one side, and on my sewing machine I'm gonna start about 1 inch away, and I'm gonna sew down to that point, and then I'm gonna pivot, leave my foot down, leave my needle down, lift up my foot like we did on the neck, and then I'm gonna pivot over and sew about another inch the other way. And that will get our V-neck right here attached, and then we'll be able to go with the serger or with a stretch stitch all around the rest of the neckline to attach it on. So we're gonna do that part first, and we're gonna sew these sides. We'll come back to attach the sleeves, the cuffs, and the neckband and hem, and we'll be done. All right, I'm at my machine and I'm just gonna do a regular straight stitch. I'm gonna start on one side. Make sure my sides are lined up. Okay, and actually I'm still gonna leave it a little bit of like a stitch that I can pull later if I want to pull it. And then I'm going down to that point. Which is really the line of the, the line of the, where I, like the line of my neckband. There's my neckband line. I'm gonna lift up and turn and go the other way. So then when I pull that out, if you flip it, you've got your neck area. And here is my stitches. I'll pull those stitches out. And it's funny because the stitch didn't really come right quite to the center, but see my center point right there? It lines up with my neckband right there. Center point right lined up. And that's what you want. All right, we're getting down to the end of our sew along and I'm so excited because I think this top is gonna be super cute. So the first thing I'm gonna do is pull out that basting stitch right there. As I showed you, that was just a guide and obviously it was fine. And there it is, that's the V-neck, so I can pull that out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to quarter mark this neckband. Now I am a big believer on quartering your neckband and that's what helps you get a perfect neckband every single time. So what I do is I'm gonna go from the front all the way to the back and match up the back. And here at the back, I'm actually going to cut a little notch. Now that will be cut on my seam allowance, but it's easy to see it later. I'm gonna do the same for my neck, grab the two shoulders, match them together and go to the back. Now I have that back point right here where I'm going to match that back point of the neckband. Then I'm gonna go and match the back with the front. We're gonna match them and then we're gonna go to the sides. So I've got one side here, one side here, and then match it again and go to the other side, and I've got the other side here. So now I've quartered my neckband and I'm gonna do the same for the neckline. Match up the front and back and go to the sides. Because your shoulders are not your quarter points. All right, so now what I wanna do is I wanna match up those quarter points together. Make sure your neckband is not twisted or turned. Then I'm gonna go to my serger or my sewing machine, depending on what you're gonna use. I'm gonna start here at the neck and I'm gonna go down and around the whole time, the whole neckline, and then come right out here at the end. And then your neck will be finished. Now for the sleeve, I've got two things to do. I've got my sleeve here. I'm gonna turn it right side out. I'm gonna grab my bottom of my sleeve where my gathers are, and I'm gonna grab my cuff. I'm gonna fold my cuff right side out, so wrong sides together. Okay, and I've got my one side here and I've got my other side here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull on that basting stitch to gather it the width of my cuff. But first I'm gonna match the half of this because I wanna make sure that I'm attaching it correctly. So that half will match up the half and half. All right, so there's one side. And I'm pulling the bobbin thread. That's the easiest one to pull to gather. Okay, and once it's gathered the width of the cuff here, I kind of do a tie right here so that the sleeve doesn't come ungathered when I'm trying to attach it. And then you'll have like one straight edge and then one area that is all gathered. And then you even out those gathers all the way around. Now, like I said, this sleeve is right side out. So this is the right side of the sleeve out here. So I'm gonna fit that cuff right sides together into the sleeve and match up those seams and that half point. I'm gonna do that for both sleeves. All right, now once that's sewn, we're gonna fit that sleeve right into my arm size. So I'm gonna find my back. So I have this mark right here that I made for what my back is, and that is going to attach to the back. So what we're gonna do is find that, here's the back, here's the front. So I'm gonna fit it right into my top. So the right side of the sleeve is touching the right side of the top. I'm gonna match up those, that armpit area. Actually, look, this is the back and that's the front, so it's not on this side. This sleeve goes on this side. See, it's a good thing you marked, because if I hadn't marked, then I'd be putting it on the wrong side, and that would not be good. Match up here, and then there's the top notch here. Match up the top notch. Make sure you're matching right sides together. Fit it in. Then I'm gonna go ahead and sew those up. Do that for the other sleeve as well. And then I'm gonna fold my hem up to go ahead and hem at the same time. So we're gonna be doing everything at the same time. And then we'll be done. You can go ahead and prep that hem. And sometimes I just fold over and put in clip, or sometimes I just fold over and steam. And I eyeball my hems a lot. But if you're one that likes to make sure that you measure it out, you can use a seam gauge here or a ruler and measure out your hem really nicely. And I'm going to do my hem on my cover stitch, which kind of looks like a serger, but it's not really a serger. It's a cover stitch. It looks like right here at the front, it kind of dips in a little bit down and then over. All right, so let's go sew those up, and then we'll be done with this top. Easy peasy. All right, like I said, I'm going to be using my serger for all these, and I'm just sewing them along. All right, for the cuff, I'm facing the ruffles size up. That way I can kind of see what they're doing and make sure that they're fitting in there correctly. I'm not like bending down and, you know, getting cut under. All right, for the neckline, like I said, we're gonna start here at the center of the neckline area, and we're gonna go all the way around, matching those quarter points and making sure that the neck and the bodice are even together. There's those notches that you can match, and let's go. What's really cool is this pattern also gives you notches. Like there's that notch that matches your seam here at the shoulder. So they give you notches on the pattern. So if you didn't quarter it, you could use those notches to match it up. But I'm so used to quartering that that's just what I always do. Here at the end, we're just gonna come right out. And that's what it looks like on the inside, and that's what it looks like on the outside. All right, friends, we are done, and I love how this turned out. Like, I really, really love it. The neckline, it's not super fitted, but it's not super oversized. The sleeves look so good. The V-neck, I think I already said that. I love it. The only thing I'm gonna say is for myself, I used fabric that doesn't really have much stretch, which the pattern does recommend for more stretch than what I have. So my cuffs a little bit like, not tight, they're just like fitted. So if you use a fabric that has the recommended amount of stretch, they won't be as fitted. If I'm gonna make this again with a fitted fabric that it doesn't have that much stretch, I probably would add a little bit of width to the sleeve, but that's about it. That's it. I mean, the pattern was perfect. I love how it fits. It's so good. I think it's super flattering and super cute. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please comment, like, share, subscribe. Go grab your pattern. The info on it is below. Then come back and sew it up with me. And also comment below and let me know if there's any patterns you're like, oh, I wish you'd sew this one up, or I want you to sew more of this, or can you show this, you know, or if you have any questions about how to sew something or what to do with something, just comment below and let me know. And also, I am on Instagram and I share a whole lot more there. I go on stories, behind the scenes and stuff. So make sure you check me out on Instagram at Eloise.Ezra, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.